Congressman Phillips, you put out on Twitter that you will suspend your campaign if you don't get a certain amount of votes today. Can you explain where you are on that?
Well, what I've said from the very beginning is what I'm going to say right now, which is that I'm on a mission to ensure that Donald Trump is not reelected President of the United States of America. And I only ran for president because Joe Biden didn't pass the torch, because those with better name recognition than I refused to enter the stage, and someone had to do it. And sadly, Joe Biden's numbers are even worse now than they were 5 months ago when I started this endeavor. And I made the commitment that I will get behind whichever candidate, period, is best positioned to win. And I'm going to see what happens here after Super Tuesday, and I'll be making decisions here over the coming days, there's no question, because it's going to be terribly consequential that people mobilize to ensure his defeat.
What's the threshold for you?
It's not so much a threshold of votes, because there's no way to overcome a political party with an incumbent president, and that's pretty well determined. What it is trying to wake people up, Esme. I mean, wake people up to the reality that those who do not want to see a Donald Trump re-election right now are facing a real danger because of Joe Biden. I'm trying to inspire people to wake up to that reality. I've been trying to inspire other candidates, and it's still not too late, by the way. Not too late for others who might have a better chance of winning to enter. And I thought that my candidacy might inspire that. It clearly hasn't, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to ensure that doesn't happen.
But you're going to look at the totals from tonight and then make a decision.
Well, yeah, and the totals tonight will probably be similar to the last few or 4 states.
And that would mean what?
Oh, look, single digits, maybe low double digits.
And that would mean what for you?
Well, I'm going to assess, I mean, staying in the race, it's all relative. I'm on 43 state ballots. I think it's important that we have competition. I offered a choice to Democratic-based voters, and clearly they favor Joe Biden. I have to respect that. But I'm going to make decisions based on data. Right now, the data is clear that Donald Trump is winning pretty handily, and I'm still going to try to inspire an alternative to help defeat him, Esme. And there are other ways to do that. I think a Republican running as an independent right now would be a very helpful mechanism to ensure his defeat, and I hope somebody steps up.
If you do, in fact, withdraw in the next few days, will you endorse Joe Biden?
So I'm going to make that determination, and I said on a tweet that I will endorse the likely Democratic nominee, who likely will be Joe Biden, but I'm going to make that determination once I see what the numbers look like. And right now, Joe Biden, his numbers are awful, losing in every battleground state, losing in most national polls. His approval numbers in the 30s, and 86% of Americans believe he's too old to serve another term. So it may come down to what others are recognizing. These are the choices, and of course, if it's just Donald Trump and Joe Biden, of course, I'd absolutely be getting behind Joe Biden fast and furiously.
Okay, you have really been hammered by your former friends and colleagues, or still colleagues, in the Democratic Party. What has this been worth it?
Yes, it has been worth it. This is an ugly business, and it's far uglier than people could possibly imagine. And it's been disappointing, there's no question, but I would do this 1,000 times again. I ran in 2018 for Congress because of Donald Trump, because I took all of this for granted, all of the freedoms, all the blessings, all the opportunities in this country. And when I saw him literally walking right back to the White House, as Democrats seem to be sleepwalking out of it, I felt compelled to do something, and I would do it all over again. Has it been painful? Of course it has. Have I been disappointed in certain people who I believe lack courage? Yes, because there are a lot of private conversations in Washington right now, Esme, that are all saying the same thing. And when the cameras go on, it's a totally different ballgame. Same thing with Donald Trump and Republicans. Democrats have been doing the same thing. I think it's a disservice to America. And my mission was to inspire people to participate. And I think history will probably be the arbiter of whether that had any impact.
Your comment that it's absurd for Amy Klobuchar to run again has gotten a lot of traction and a lot of publicity. What did you mean by that?
Let me characterize it the way I mean, which is I believe in a political system that rewards tenure way too much. We have a culture in Washington in particular in which people stick around way too long. And as someone who believes in 18-year term limits for the House and Senate and for the Supreme Court, I believe that people should serve their 18 years and then turn it over to other Americans who wish to serve their country. And as someone who has seen the negative consequences of people who stick around too long, in Washington in particular, I think it's an urgency. And particularly because when people are not making a career of politics, they are more likely to vote their conscience, vote independently, and do what the country wants, not just what their party wants. I respect Senator Klobuchar, did not mean it as absurdity as it came out. What I mean is, I think 18 years is enough for anybody to serve their country and then let new generations participate.
Because it came across as a slam towards her. She,
No.
by all measures, is an effective member of Congress and is, continued to work in a bipartisan fashion, something that you've championed, and certainly is all over the place.
Sure. I want to give her credit too. Senator Klobuchar is one of the most effective senators in Washington. She's a dedicated, wonderful public servant, and this is not a personal affront against her. It's simply saying we need participation in this country, Esme, and I'm afraid too few people who want to serve can, because of the money in politics and because too many people stick around too long. And by the way, to make this really clear, I will never run for a Senate seat in Minnesota, never going to run for governor. This has nothing to do with personal politics. It has to do with the fact that I've seen firsthand how detrimental to democracy it is when you have people who stick around too long. And she will be in the Senate now for 24 years at least, and I just think that's too long.
There are some people who are saying you've ruined your political career. You've heard it.
Oh, they're right.
Do you feel that you have ruined your political future?
Yes, totally. But that's what this is supposed to be about. There should be more people in public service willing to ruin their career to do what's right. Instead, we have a culture that rewards silence, rewards staying in line, and rewards not telling people the truth. And I will do it. I would have done it 1,000 times again, Esme. Yes, my political career is likely over, and that's fine. I served 6 years in the House. It was an extraordinary, joyful, impactful, meaningful time. I think that's what our founders had in mind, and I would do it again 100 times over. But yes, have I torpedoed my career? Of course, and I just wish more would.
Well, people have a short memory too.
Richard Nixon, for God's sake.
People have a short memory.
Yeah.
Obviously anything's possible, and you're obviously young enough, but do you really actually think that your political career could be over?
It could be, but that's fine. I'm gonna try to make an impact moving forward, because we need competition. We need more people to vote. We need more people to run for office, and I think we need more competition for the duopoly, the two political parties that are really stifling the very competition and the very debate, deliberation, and frankly decency that the country demands. And that's why I think over 50% of Americans are now independents. The two parties are hemorrhaging registered support because I think people are really sick of it, and I see a role to play in ensuring that we elevate participation. I think I can do so.
I want to go back to, you said that you're going to make a big decision here in probably the next couple of days. You expect to do just about the same as you have done
in the next week or so.
In the next week or so. Yet you seem to be hedging a little bit on endorsing Joe Biden completely. Am I interpreting that incorrectly?
The only hesitation is that right now his numbers are so bad that I want to ensure that there's nobody else that might be forthcoming who's better positioned to win. And this might sound silly, but I'm the only candidate in the race right now who is not losing to Donald Trump in any poll. I've still not seen one poll that demonstrates how I would do head-to-head, which was my whole mission to begin with, to find a Democrat who's better positioned. So the likelihood is that it's going to be Joe Biden. But does that preclude the possibility of somebody else from entering the race who's better positioned to win? No. And I think we should at least keep our hearts and minds open to that. But no, the truth is I will be helping and endorsing whomever can beat him.
Okay, there was a controversy about an AI deepfake incident involved with the staffer from your campaign. Can you just kind of settle?
Well, first of all, not a staffer.
Not a staffer.
A consultant. Okay. This industry, the political industry, is grotesque. It is filled with grifters. It is filled with ne'er-do-wells. And when you're running as an insurgent challenger to a sitting president, an incumbent, mark my words, you can't hire any of the political consultants, Democratic ones in this case, who are good ones, to be honest with you. And that's because the Democratic Party will blackball anybody that works for a challenger. So yes, I had to hire some people to help me get on ballots, Esme. That's the worst part of this whole story. We had to pay consultants to go through these ridiculous barriers, in this case Pennsylvania and New York, that make it very hard to practice democracy. His job was to help us do so. He did. And then on his own accord, apparently hired a magician in New Orleans to create an AI fake voice of Joe Biden that has encouraged people not to vote. It's sickening, it's repulsive, I disassociate myself from it. The buck stops with me, I'm the candidate, I own that. But it is another example of how just absolutely disgusting our political industrial complex is, with people who are taking a lot of money off the table and doing some really crummy stuff. And we need AI regulation. We need the fact that we are living right now in 2024 and we do not have serious guardrails for artificial intelligence as it relates to politics, to industry, to media, is deeply concerning and dangerous. And I hope as a result of this, we will do so quickly.
How much of your own money have you spent? I saw an estimate a few months ago at $5 million, but that was a few months ago.
Yeah, it'll be about $6 million by the time this is probably said and done. An obscene amount of money. It shouldn't take an individual that has resources or has to beg people to raise them to participate in politics. It's another problem with our system right here. And yeah, a whole lot more money than I sure would have liked to invest, but I would do it 1,000 times again, because someone has to provide opportunities and choices in democracy, especially in a consequential election like this, where 86% of Democratic voters, 86% of the country believes that the likely Democratic nominee is too old to serve another term. And I'm just appalled that more people are not voting in primaries right now to register what the polls are saying are going to be true in November. And I thought that investment would make a bigger impact, to be honest.
Anything else you want to say or that you'd like to get out there? Because we'll probably put this on our different platforms, so larger chunks of this will get used.
I'm going to surprise people with this. This has been the most joyful, beautiful, hopeful, and inspirational journey of my whole life. And if nothing else, if the whole legacy of my candidacy, wherever it goes, is that I determined that America is not as divided as entertainment would have us believe, that's a huge victory. And I would just ask that Minnesotans who are so fortunate to live in this state, in this country at this time, to participate. Do what I did in 2018. Do what so many people do when they see injustice, or they see something offensive, or they realize that they can't take it for granted. Participate. And that's why I'm so proud to be a Minnesotan, represent a district that has the highest turnout in the country, a state that's nicely managed and decent, thoughtful. What a blessing. Don't take it for granted.
What's your next chapter?
We're going to find out.
Okay.
We're going to find out. It'll be a fun one.